Welcome to the Three Body Narrative podcast. I'm back, and well, while we may be mediocre, something was about to happen that would change our lives forever. And that is our review for Mexico 86. All right, so what is the movie all about? Well, it is a satirical comedy drama that dramatizes the true behind the scenes story of how Mexico managed to host the 1986 FIFA World Cup. It follows Martin de la Torre, a low level, cunning bureaucrat who compulsively lies, bribes, and schemes his way to secure the tournament after Colombia was forced to withdraw. All right, so that's in the we're in the festive season of the World Cup, and we thought it'd be best to discuss this movie. And I guess we will start with our ratings for this film. And I am going to probably take the first shot, penalty number one, and I am going to give this movie a. It's an interesting one. I think I'll give it a 3 out of 5. Okay. I'm interested. I'm intrigued by this thing. So I probably was going to rate it a little lower going into this because I thought this was like a biopic of sorts, right? I thought this was going to be talking about. I thought Martin was a real person. I thought we'd be talking about what was happening in all of that. Uh, and quickly, I mean, the way the events played out and whatever, however over the top certain things went, I was like, this feels a little too far fetched. And then I come to know that it's a satirical version of it, that this guy doesn't exist. But what they've done is taken the real life events, and made a lot of like a sort of mockery of what's happened, right? And probably looking in hindsight, yeah, I mean, I kind of enjoyed that per se. For me, I really liked Diego Luna's character. It was pretty fun to watch. And I did love the at no moment did I feel very bored with the movie. I think it moved quite fast from one angle to another. And yeah, I kind of enjoyed it. I liked the aspect. I mean, I didn't know about the sort of behind the scenes of how Mexico did get the 1986 World Cup, and so sort of that true life inspiration stories and how he manages to do that was pretty fun. But yeah, I think overall a 3 out of 5 for me.
Cool. I'm up next.
Yep.
And yeah, I'll get the rating out of the way first. I'll give this movie a 2 out of 5, I guess. Diego Luna, who I think midway through the movie recognized that I know him from Andor.
Yeah.
Is pretty good in this movie. I had a good time watching him, but the movie in itself didn't do much. I didn't even actually know it was a satirical comedy or whatever. Neither did I. When I got done with the movie, it didn't grasp me enough in the sense that I wanted to go searching or getting more details around this. So until you brought this up, I didn't even know that was the case. I just assumed it was the actual scenario, in which case, while I was watching the movie, I just considering how grand the scale the World Cup is, everything just seemed to come together very easily. And it just felt like from this thing, it didn't seem like a very serious take on it, which again, is perfectly fine. Uh, but the movie didn't do much for me in terms of whether that is his relationship personally with the people in his life, or the professional journey he's on per se, right? I just it just felt like he had a wand and he just had to kind of swoosh and everything fell into place, kind of a thing. So there was no real growth for the character that I kind of saw
Yeah.
So from that aspect, I was kind of disappointed, I suppose. Again, like thinking of this going into this, that this was um like a sport related movie. So I was thinking of like, like nothing's going their way. They kind of have to make things happen and stuff like that. So it'll look more. It just felt a lot very relaxed and very comical in that
Yeah.
sense. So what
Yeah.
I went into this movie thinking what this was going to be, it didn't live up to that, and I don't know if that is why I rate it as a 2 per se. Uh, but I mean, it's an okay watch at best for me. And yeah, Diego Luna was a standout, and I think the only thing that I take away from this movie, to be honest.
Okay.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. And the final penalty goes to.
Well, I think this is one of the rare ones where I probably have quite a contrasting rating from you, Pradi. I mean, I think I would rate this a 1.5 at best. The movie in itself, I mean, there were some interesting bits in terms of like that whole sequence of the voting for the World Cup and like that lead up to that and how he switches the seating position. That was pretty cool. But going into the movie, though, I did see that it was like a satire comedy and stuff. I thought there'd be a little bit more informative stuff as to events that took place during that time. So I was quite disappointed in that. Also, I mean, I also felt like getting into the movie was a little bit difficult at the start. I wasn't really sold on it at the beginning. And yeah, so it kind of just left me thinking like I didn't quite get the point of the movie as a whole. Like I didn't really know what the goal was or what they were trying to achieve or put across to the audience. But that could just be me. But I myself didn't really enjoy that movie a whole lot, to be honest.
Okay. All right. Fair. I mean, pretty. I mean, contrasting ratings. Yeah. Well.
Yeah, I think we
Yeah.
got a mixture of all
Yeah.
spectrums, I guess, or whatever.
So, I mean, for me, let's talk about, I guess, the timing of this movie and the reasoning for this movie. Obviously, we know that the World Cup is happening in Mexico, USA, and Canada right at this moment, right? And I suppose the idea is to maybe cash in on that from a from a film perspective, is, you know, to kind of discuss about all things World Cup and football. And
But even so, right? Like, I mean,
what?
if you hadn't brought this movie up,
Yeah.
I honestly hadn't like even heard of the movie. Like, I don't know about you, Aaron, but personally, I hadn't even come across any sort of advertisement or any kind of marketing around this movie. Which is why I was wondering,
But
like,
I mean, also, it isn't in your purview per se. I don't think it would have fallen under your categories of movies that you would generally have seen.
sports movies, right? Like, I mean,
It's
generally good.
not. Technically, it would have been more regional film in
I
terms.
think it would be regional or like a
So
theatrical comedy or something.
I
like
watched
that.
the trailer for this, so I knew coming into this that there was.
But again, okay,
But
to that point,
yeah.
if you're trying to cash in on something, I would think you're going grander in terms of, because football is connected
No,
to the
but
world.
again, it's who they're targeting. It's not the general public per se, right? It's those Mexican crowd, it's the Spanish crowds, people who probably feel that way in terms of what's happened. I don't think they're. Otherwise, they would have done this movie in English, maybe. And I mean, Mexico's an easy enough place to have done this movie in English and made it a grander.
It's probably something that we don't know or probably are not really connected with, but there might be certain sentiments about, hosting the World Cup in Mexico, and there probably is a history to that, and they probably are tapping into that, which is something that we kind of don't relate to or can't relate to without really reading up on that. So
Right.
I get that, and probably what Paddy says is right. It's probably not for the wider audience in terms of a global scale, and so that's why probably the advertising and the branding is not so great. And I don't think it's about capturing football fans per se or like tapping into World Cup as in the hype that's around the World Cup. I think it's just tapping into the sentiments of the locals in Mexico and maybe others that can relate to that sort of thing.
But if you kind of look at it, I mean, the story in and of itself is quite intriguing, right? The fact that this was the Mexico was the first nation to ever host the World Cup twice, and the circumstances that brought about it. Now,
Yeah.
again, that's stuff that I was probably intrigued by, and I went through reading about what it was and all of it, and uh, I I can so I understand maybe why they chose that story, because obviously we know Mexico '86 was Maradona's claim to fame in terms of the World Cup, right? The hand of God, the goal of the century, all of that, and them winning the World Cup at the end. So, like, I can understand maybe, and the fact that Mexico was hosting it, so I can understand why they made this movie. But I agree with Aaron, like when you were talking about the rating, Aaron, like you said, uh, the whole voting system and how they got the World Cup, right? Like
Mhm.
how they got
Yeah.
chosen to be the second host, not because nobody else got that opportunity, or they were not supposed to get that opportunity in the first place. And I
Yeah.
agree that, so going into this movie, I thought the whole movie was going to be them getting, like, the whole movie was going to focus on them and the way that they got the World Cup in the second, like, this thing. But
Yeah.
for me, and maybe there's a question to you guys as well, it's like, do you think they took on a little bit more than they could chew in the sense, in terms of the story? Because if you look at the entire history, there's intrigue in terms of getting the World Cup. There's intrigue also about the whole earthquake thing that happens, because that's like 9 months before the tournament, right? Because that puts everything in jeopardy, right? And
Yeah.
then maybe you have like, and then I guess because it's Mexico, and we know how fans are, the Mexican fans. We've seen it even now, the way they cheer for the team and everything. There is the fact that Mexico was such a bad team at that point in time, except for probably Hugo Sanchez. Like they had never gotten past, I don't know, group stages. Like even he makes a joke, right? The big businessman, this Mexican,
11v3 or something. Yeah.
yeah, Emilio, yeah. So he says all of that, and for them to go to the quarterfinals is another great story. So that's, I guess, the story that Naeem was talking about like a football story where things don't go your way and then they suddenly succeed, but succeed in a different way. They don't go win the World Cup, but they probably go to the quarterfinals. So you have three different stories and three different like arcs, which is interesting. But do you think that combining all of it, and of course at the end I forgot, so you have actually the fourth one, which is the under 20s scandal that happened, which barred them from 1990. So you have like four stories that they've basically combined into one satirical comedy drama, and perhaps maybe it could have been done better with a TV show. I mean, Diego Luna is not a stranger to TV shows, so maybe we could have seen a lot more in that, because I do agree that maybe a lot was packed. Like, I think a large part of my rating per se is just because I like how Diego Luna was really acting, and I like some of the other side characters as well. But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think like the four stories or the four arcs that we were talking about, probably, like you said, it could have either been a TV show or they could have not that I'm suggesting it, but it could have quite easily been four different movies, to be honest, because a lot of the arcs that you mentioned, you kind of wanted more information about those certain things, right? Like if you just made the movie about them, how they kind of became the host or how they kind of won over whatever the other contingents and stuff like that. I think that would have been quite intriguing in itself. You could have done one just about De La Torre's character and how he kind of rose to fame and then the downfall and whatever that led after. That could have been one on its own, and because of how good a job of portraying that character uh, was, I think that could have been in a movie in itself. And then, yeah, like you said, the scandals of the under 21s and also on all that was a story in itself. And then again, because they were kind of looking at, or at least we assume that they were kind of looking at kind of rallying the Mexican public and stuff like that way in the lead up to the World Cup, you could have done something about like the resilience of the country post the earthquake and in the aftermath of all that. That could have been something as well. So yeah, I feel like they touched on so many things, which yes is nice because it kind of did make the movie interesting, but then you kind of also caught yourself thinking, oh, what happened after that, or like, or oh, what was the effects of these decisions that they made and stuff like that way. So you always kept wondering about stuff while the movie already had moved ahead, and you were like, oh, okay, never mind.
Yeah. Naeem, you were saying something, and then
of the same opinion. In fact, I would have it was definitely a very intriguing storyline in terms of how they were pitching for the World Cup, right? Especially that whole thing of it being a second World Cup for Mexico and the first nation to be able to do that. I love those aspects of him just walking into the meeting room early, and then because like when he talks about it, I'm thinking about what is the grand scheme he's thinking about, right? Like even then later on, he's like, oh, before we did this, this is why we came in early. I'm thinking of something very insane. I never thought it's going to be as simplistic as just walking into the room and like placing those placards right next to each other. And that was brilliant. And I would have loved if the movie just focused on that bit. It gave more time to kind of use those ingredients in terms of how they put themselves up as one of the nations to kind of host, how the whole system worked, especially like once he takes over the organization, right? He becomes the president or whatever it is. The whole process of from there to getting things together, making it work. I get it. It's supposed to be a satire comedy and stuff, and maybe focusing on that suddenly it doesn't become all of that. It becomes a little more serious, perhaps. Maybe there is a good concoction in there in terms of how you can get that mix right. But maybe then from that aspect, you kind of have to balance things out to make it not so serious. But what I would have enjoyed, especially with Diego Luna in there, is that thing. I would have liked to see that journey in terms of how Mexico was not nowhere close to being a host nation. Suddenly it was on the horizon, and how they kind of made it work. Especially things like when that German comes in, right? Herman or whoever it is. That whole thing of getting crowds in there. They talk about just giving the package and stuff. I would have loved to see that in person, kind of like them rallying up people and saying, okay, you got to be in the stadium, all of that. They could have really kind of used a little more time. It's a very short movie, I think an hour and 30 or an hour 25 minutes. Probably spruced up by 30 more minutes and taken away at the same time from all the other things that they were doing. Just focused on this, and I think it would have been a really good movie in that aspect, kind of a thing. Definitely a lot of potential, and had the actors for it. I didn't mind any of the actors playing there.
I thought they were all good. Performances
were good. Like I didn't have this thing. I had a difficulty in terms of keeping up with the language in itself, the subtitles, like the speed in which, right, in which they speak. It was difficult from that aspect, but I think overall, I just think like the potential they had and what they managed to achieve is the same thing. Too many ingredients spoil the broth or whatever. So is to that point, like, and it's sad always when you've got all of it right there,
Yeah.
but you just kind of can't make it come together for whatsoever reason.
Yes, I like I said, I think it's like they want to tell everything about that Mexico '86 in one movie, which I feel like if you want to say the whole thing, a TV show is the best way to go about it. Like you mentioned, so I think I also agree. Like when I saw that entire thing of them, the voting being done, right? I was like, shit, I thought the movie's supposed to end here. And then there's like another, and I looked at the time, it's like only half an hour done or something. I was like, what the hell are you doing for the next?
50 minutes more post that.
Yeah, and I was like, what do they have more? Like, don't tell me they're going to do the entire like World Cup and stuff like that. But I'm like, so yeah, I wish I could see a lot more. I felt, yeah, I agree with you. Things were a little too easy. So this movie, so the satirical version of something that's actually very serious or very like proper reminded me of this movie called The Big Short, where it's a satire on the financial crisis, right? And it's essentially like the way they explain the financial crisis. You could really like make it a documentary and you'll bore people down, but the way that they did it, like even a novice could understand what exactly happened or what what those financial products. And I feel like they kind of took that, but The Big Short only had the financial crisis. Here you're taking an entire tournament that had so many things that happened throughout. You had even Pele being a part of that, like a young Pele being there. I'm glad they didn't. Okay, I don't know if it was only for me, but did you guys also have that point where when they were talking to Egypt or during that entire scene? There's one name which was blurred out or bleeped out. Did you ever?
No.
So there was this one guy who's like, he wanted to talk to, Henry Kissinger spoke to his boss or something, and he was like, I work for this company, or I work for Coca-Cola. That was bleeped out for me. Why the hell is that bleeped out?
So the company was bleeped out. I thought you meant like the CEO of Coca-Cola was bleeped out.
No, the company was bleeped out. It said, I work for, and I was like, is he working Donald Trump? Who's he working for? I was like, what the hell is happening?
Branding shade or something? I don't know.
But why on Netflix? India? What's Netflix India?
Is Coke in some dispute in India? I don't know.
No, I ordered Coke last week, so I'm sure. Like, what has Coca-Cola got wrong? I'm so surprised. Okay,
maybe you want to beep this out in India too. I'm not sure.
No, but that's so weird, because this is the same thing that happened even during The Boys, where anything related to religion, like in terms of the name of like the prophet or something, kept getting bleeped out. And I had to keep asking my cousin like when he was watching, like, so what did they tell in that speech? Like, it was completely blurry and they bleeped it out. So that's weird. What does the censor board got against Coca-Cola? What the Pepsi mafia is like on them, the soda mafia. But interesting, Coca-Cola. Okay, I expected something worse. Honestly, I thought I don't think it would have been Donald Trump, but it would have been something else quite contentious in terms of who he would have been working for. And I thought, yeah, but interesting. Okay. Yeah. So with that being said, I think I guess we'll talk about some of the characters as well. I really loved his scenes with Emilio, the head boss, right? Like that guy was so hilarious, especially the first meeting. You see Diego Luna being very like proud and very like confident, and then when the moment he goes in front of anybody he respects, he turns into this complete beta person of like, oh, very nice, how are you, like like almost begging. And I like that. I love the scenes with the different countries trying to bribe them to voting for Mexico.
Yeah. Okay, that aspect again, like it's again down to the same this thing, right? I like to see, and I mean, again, obviously, we don't know how much of what is true, but I'm sure there is an aspect to it. But how it was not just about football anymore, and not just about money either. There were so many other things at play there. That was insane to see, and I was like, "Oh my god!" Yeah, like, wow, this might actually be the thing, right? Like in terms of negotiations, in terms of your voting, like it's not just limited to what you think. Like there's one way of bribing, which is cash, but the whole other
Uh,
segment of it in terms of what they talk
I'm surprised they blurred Coca-Cola for Pradi,
about,
but not the
that
negotiation
is,
tactics
and
with
they should
Egypt.
have just cut those scenes out for him. Like, what scene are you talking about?
Yeah, exactly. I was like, the names that they were throwing out, I was like, the fact that something else got bleeped out, I was like, this gotta be really bad. I was like, what is it?
Because they kind of like outright talk about specific nations in there.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah,
The
and
Libya and everything, all of that, right?
like we don't have to talk about them. I'm
No,
just
but
saying
I
that
mean,
they
they
do.
do.
Kind
They
of.
spoke about all of it, and I'm like, wow, okay, like you're going into those kind of details,
But
which
is it like well-known facts that? So when you say it's a satire, right? There is still
oh, this is all true. It's just that they're
true,
making
right?
fun
Yeah.
of how,
So
yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah.
exactly.
So
So it's still like
yes, so Henry
out there
Kissinger,
facts that these nations were involved in the
yeah, so they all of them, I
bribing
guess,
aspect.
yes, yeah, so they all were part of the voting thing. I don't know how true it is about the specificity of the deals and what US offered
Of
and all of
course.
that. I guess there would have been some sort of jokes because of the fact that I guess countries at that point in time were in wars and conflicts, and so but it is true that I mean Henry Kissinger being president of the US to be there is a big deal, and I mean, he can he can make those calls, right? He can make those calls like I'm giving you so and so, I can give you
Yeah,
support, all of
he
that.
probably wasn't there to talk football anyway. So
Yeah, he had the other aide who was the Gringa, so she was there to help this thing. So I really love that aspect. I think we should. I just want to talk about also, I guess, the football aspect, which was, there's that whole thing with Hugo Sanchez, right? Which is
The penalties thing was insane.
so
How he
I'm
just
sure
put-
that didn't happen where the president just walks in and does that entire thing. But
I
I
was like, what the hell is happening? I mean, I get it, it's 86, but you're telling me it was that easy to kind of just like get in there? Like on his way there, he hardly even comes across any sort of security. So I was kind of surprised with
but
that.
all the security anyway
Yeah.
would have been his.
Yeah,
but
his
it would have been
exactly.
in his pocket anyway,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
He was
yeah.
quite
But
well
I'm just
known.
saying, like, it was so abandoned in terms of that whole walkway scene kind of a thing, and how he quickly just walks on and he's like, because you'd think at least he would be asked about it. He's not. He's just directly in, and the first man he finds on the field, he asks for his jacket or whatever, and
But
with
that
that,
was
he's
in the tunnel, right? I'm guessing they probably just kind of implied that that's how he got past security. I guess.
Again, I don't
So-
think that part is true, at least from what I've read. I mean, the president of whatever, what was the thing called?
Pemex.
Femefood,
Yeah.
Femefood. So he didn't. I mean, it's not Martin, but whoever the guy, Rafael, I think was his name. I don't think he went and really went onto the pitch, but it was hilarious. I love the sort of banter that he has with Hugo Sanchez, right? Because he was one of the more popular. So I love the fact that he said, "You never did this for Real Madrid," but like, what the hell are you doing this shit now for? And yeah,
No.
but I guess that's more to talk about how crazy Mexican fans are about football and their team, right? Like I
Yeah,
think
and the kind of
Yeah.
pressure the players are under, right? Like because they didn't want to take the penalty, so insane from that aspect. Like if people are feigning injuries and stuff like that, and to top that off, you've got your top player not wanting to take the penalty, so it's insane from that aspect. It was funny. I like those things were funny to see, kind of thing, and just how he kind of convinces, like all the trouble he takes within those few minutes to convince them, only for them to lose 4-1. That was That was insane. I was like, and the funny thing is, I didn't know how far Mexico got into this thing, right? So in my head, I'm like, did they actually beat Germany in penalties? That would be insane. And then the next moment is like 4-1, and I'm like, okay, never mind that.
Yeah. And but yeah, I think even was it in this 2026 World Cup, the first game Mexico played South Africa, and I think the crowd was booing the team for not playing very defensively also in a way. And I think like it just shows like they're very passionate about the kind of football that they want, and you know, they're very proud about their team and their nation. So it was nice to see that aspect, and I think that was the closest that they've ever come to winning the World Cup, the quarter.
Yeah, that's what they
I
say.
don't.
At
Yeah,
least that's what it was said at the end. So
because I don't remember anything post that. I mean, Germany eventually in that World
Yeah,
Cup went to
definitely no semi-finals for sure. So
yeah,
maybe this
still-
is who knows.
not according to our predictions, but yes.
Our predictions have been flipped over. We saw it the wrong side of the table. I think.
as long as they make it out of the group, okay.
Yeah.
At least we would have probably guessed 2, maybe, because oh no, one of them you cut out already. Yeah, sorry, we didn't give them a chance because you did not want them there, right?
Yeah, but
at
we
least
went
probably
the Arabic style of
Australia?
looking at the other way.
Yeah, left to right, bro. It's not top. It's not down to top. How do you like?
We did this one, and we. But yeah, okay. So that's one. The other thing is, of course, there was that point where it nearly got away from them, which was the earthquake that took place, close to the World Cup, and that's another arc that could have been spoken about in greater detail. About like, I love the conversation he has with Emilio in his office, and Emilio is obviously like, "What the fuck are you talking about? Like, you're talking about football when there are my citizens and my people under the rubble." And he's like football is the one that will unite us all. Like everyone will want this World Cup to be held and rally for this, because sport is such a huge unifier, right? The great unifier for a lot of things, even currently, if you see. So with that being said, I really love that entire dialogue and that scene that he plays, because there is a lot of truth to what he's saying. That, I mean, it's there, but like, you probably also have to look at the other pictures, that we don't want this to be lost, like from Mexico. This could have been like, see, again, like, it all comes down to the fact that they were going to be the first ever country to host the World Cup twice, something that had never happened, and that was not going to happen, right? By the way, it was Diego Luna wasn't in Narcos, right?
I can't recall him being there.
Yeah. It was Pedro, I think. Yeah.
No, I was just thinking. Even I was thinking along those lines. It would be like a soft relaunch of Narcos. It's like that universe continued down, because you did see
Pablo,
a certain someone in there. So yeah, yeah, it would have been nice. Like, from there you kind of moved into this, and sudden reveal, Mexico 86 is actually Narcos season 5 or something like that. I don't know.
Wow. Yeah. But so talking about the earthquake thing, it was nice. I like that entire thing about the German coming to visit, and the fact that he had already made up his mind earlier because of the visit from the Americans. The American woman had gone and told him that, look at the trouble. But I love the fact that, they showed him Mexico pride. But I guess this all comes to the fact that, like, there are so many good bits and pieces throughout this movie, but the fact that it never really expands into, full-fledged story. Because I agree with you, I would have loved to see them actually filling the entire stadium, right? Like them handing out packages, like, come, yeah, like him putting like a fake flyer saying we've got like some like come here for safety or come here, and people thinking that they're coming there like to be saved from all the earthquake and it's a nice place, and then it just turns out to be this grand plan to make this guy believe that Mexico is,
Yeah,
ready to take
ready
on
for
the
the
world.
World Cup
Yeah,
and wants it
yeah,
there.
really, really wants it. And so it would have been hilarious though if the German guy didn't speak Spanish, and this guy was just like talking to the crowd to tell them that they're safe and everything. And this guy is like, and they're cheering because of that. And this guy's like, oh, they're like,
Free food for a month, and they all go like, "Ooh."
yeah. I was like, oh, these guys are ready to take on the World Cup. Like, let's go.
International delegate though, right? So
Yeah.
I guess
They have to.
Yeah.
yeah.
But it would have been nice. I think a lot of satire would have been.
Yeah, given that it was a satire comedy, that would have
Yeah.
been cool to have it on there. But yeah, anyway.
Like, because he'd already pulled off enough shit with everything.
If it was a Bollywood movie, you could expect that happening for sure. It would have been like the entire stadium speaking in Hindi, and they're like, "Ab haso, ha 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 ha," and stuff like that, and then it would be
Shuru
like
karo.
This guy has come to provide us aid. Let's go.
ये हमें इसका क्या जितना भी आपका फसल का डैमेज हुआ है उसका सब भरपाना करेंगे. I'm sorry, I forgot.
Yeah.
We got to cut.
So
this
I mean,
part out.
we are keeping it regional here as well. So no, so that's the, but it would have been a lot more interesting to see, because there's also the relationship aspect at that point in time. We do see his Susanna, right, really be a lot more emotional because of all the damage that's happened to Mexico. But he's obviously always focused on the World Cup.
Yeah.
And man, he's quite a dick, man, when it comes to relationships, because he's just ready to let go everybody and anything just to make sure that but
But
he
that was
wasn't,
his,
right?
that was his nature. That was his submissive nature from the very start, right? Like he was, like you said, whenever there was someone that was perceived of power in front of him, it was always very much in agreement to whatever they said, unless it was like a gun to his head and he had to come up with a plan or something like that. That's the only time his kind of wit and stuff kind of came to
But
to the fore.
I think like in this character's essence, right? Like he did genuinely care for her,
Yeah.
whatever. But he was unfortunately he had this habit of lying. He couldn't kind of confront people per se until, like Aaron mentioned, like when it came to push came to shove kind of a thing, and he had a gun to his head. Only then would he actually come out and do what he thinks is right or whatever, right? So I in that aspect, like I was like, maybe just tell her that she can't come to these things because that there are issues. They told me to break up with you, but I can't do that and stuff like that. But
yeah,
like for the career I want to build and all of that, I think we just need to kind of
He kind of
like,
went. He kind of
you
went in
skip
the
all
whole
these
opposite
meetings.
direction, though. He went and told her that we'll be in the presidential box, and I'm like, so then
I
how was he
swear.
going to hide that?
Yeah.
Like,
I was
what
like,
the hell?
what are you on, bro? Like, how are you gonna get her into the box? I thought of a way, but then I thought, okay, no, never mind. It wouldn't work.
yeah.
So
Yeah,
like crazy guy.
But
Insane.
his first relationship was, I mean, that initial scenes of him and his ex or his wife was just like, wow, man, like this is some serious drama that's happening here.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that the moment he becomes the president of
Immediately.
Mexico, yeah, it's just straight away.
Like he's like, your woman needs to be there, kind of a thing. And he's like, oh, I need to upgrade. That's the kind of approach he's got. So he's like, gonna go home and like, oh, I gotta be done with this officially. So
Yeah.
that it's not a problem, kind of a thing. That was crazy.
And then, yeah, I love the fact that he goes and tells us, like, I've already asked her for a divorce. Like, when did that conversation happen? Like,
Yeah.
how fast did you? Like, he just went,
It's
knock,
like he
knock.
just went and it's like, hi, like, I'm done with you. Like, what? It would have been like, oh, I'm being made the president or whatever, and we're going to the World Cup and stuff. We're getting the World Cup and stuff. Oh, by the way, I'm divorcing you. Like, what? You got to move out, or
Keep the
I'm
leggings.
Yeah.
warmers, leg warmers, right?
Well,
Yeah, leg
Isn't-
warm.
Leg warm, yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, but I mean, I guess she also maybe would have been a little happy because she was also quite tired.
Yeah, I
about-
think then.
yeah,
Yeah.
that relationship was running its course anyway. So it was fun that way. And yeah, it was. I guess again, I wish we could have seen a lot more from that relationship aspect because there was that point where Susanna or whatever was married earlier to this Paco guy for 4 years or something, right? And
That was a twist. Yeah.
and there's definitely a lot of jealousy from Martin's side. Like we saw it even with the
King of the car, yeah.
king of the car and that Oscar or whatever that kid's name was. But yeah, it was. These kind of things are really nice moments, but it's just like, oh come on, man! Like, spend some more time with all of this.
Yeah. And also going back to like how, I don't know, you want to call him clever or whatever, but like because they showed aspects of how he came up with ideas in these last moment things or do or die situations, you kind of wish you saw more of that because you kind of felt like that would be add more comic sort of stuff to the movie. So like maybe something as to how they got the upgrade in the office and stuff like that way. Because that part when he came in and they were all cheering him was so Wall Street, a Wolf of Wall Street kind of thing. And you're like, oh, maybe there'll be something cool here. But yeah, it always kind of led up to something and then just left it for you to kind of decipher how it played through.
I also love the fact that he kept like throwing his sort of superiors under the bus at different points.
That guy, Guillermo, right?
Yeah,
The guy, like the first interview he has, he's already thrown him under the bus, and the way he lies to him, saying that it's all on the reporter. She just spun things
don't
around
trust
her.
that woman or something.
Yeah.
Or be careful of that woman. I was like,
yeah, Diego Luna was something in this movie. It was pretty fun to watch.
It was, and I guess who's the no, yeah, okay, the first boss also, right? The one who basically said
yeah,
he's going
the
to go
previous
to
head of Femtech, what Femex Food.
Femex Food, yeah.
Alvarez, is he? Was it?
Yeah, Alvarez, yeah. Correct. He was like, "Oh, I'm going to Switzerland for a vacation and all that." I was like, "Okay, dude, sure, have fun." But yeah,
like that's the thing, right? Like even him going to the Ramon Sanchez, whatever, like it could have been so much grand in terms of how all of that happens and stuff. Like you can actually build things up, right? But none of that is done because you kind of, in the interest of time, they're like just getting done with it quickly. It's like a call, and the next thing you know, he's on that show, and then it's like, boom, the fallout and everything is just like,
yeah, like even like they show this same Ramon Sanchez or whatever, the journalist, like when he finally puts that memo that this guy Martin has signed, and you can kind of see him with a big smile kind of revealing it. You could have kind of also shown like how their relationship deteriorated and stuff like that way, like where he did not feed him any more information and stuff after he came into power and stuff like that way. But yeah, they just didn't do it. I mean, Granted that they had so many other things going on
already.
but
Yeah.
Yeah.
But at least if you're chasing that storyline, then do it right, I would think.
yeah.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, makes sense. I guess then we'll probably end this with the last arc, which is the scandal of the under-20s. I mean, this is an issue that we've seen not only with Mexico, it's kind of like questionable across a lot of nations, across decades. I remember, was it even when we were playing cricket or something in school as inter-house, they were like, inter-school cricket, they were like one team that did not look like they were sort of under 18s or something like that. It just felt like,
No, let's not name names.
no, I don't know, but I don't know the school name as well. But there was definitely, I don't know if it was when I was like playing with you, Aaron, or it was under the under 15s or something. But there was definitely like this one team where they did not seem their age. At least a couple of players did not seem their age. I mean, and
I think that was in 11th only, probably. I think I know which school you're referring to.
yeah. But yeah, so it's a widely known issue, and I mean, but it was hilarious the way that they were forging those documents, right? And changing those dates, and the fact that they eventually got caught. But what's more hilarious is that he's obviously the full blame goes on him. The guy loses it in front of Emilio again. He wants to start fighting with him. Right, that whole scene where Martin tries to threaten Emilio and do that shit. I guess that's the sort of character arc in a way where after all the success, you finally fly too close to the sun, get burnt.
True, but I think also you could kind of look at it in a way, given how smart I guess Martin was, is probably he saw that as his way out and kind of, finally be done with all that. Because I mean, he also touches on it, right? Like while the whole country was kind of celebrating the World Cup, he wasn't really having the best moments in his life per se, right? Like, besides the success of Mexico, obviously, but like he was going through some difficult stuff, and some of those decisions, especially the relationship and stuff, was not by choice. It was, again, I won't say he was forced into it, but to appease others, he kind of made those choices. And so maybe this was his way out, like, let's burn all bridges and, like, make sure like I don't get involved in this stuff again and go back to his game.
Yeah, but
and probably also maybe a part of this character's journey was to actually see his country do well in terms of footballing terms, right? Like actually get that World Cup, get them to play well, and because they kind of achieved all of that, he probably feels his journey on that end has kind of been fulfilled, and he probably still feels that like that journey is complete, but this other part of me which like fell in love, and like if there's one thing about it that is clear is like in terms of this character that he did truly genuinely love that
Yeah.
girl. That's why he goes back to her, and in the time that we see him, we don't see him screwing around. Like I thought this character is gonna be that, right? Like when
I
Emilio
think,
talks
yeah,
about a redhead or something like that and all of that stuff, I thought it's gonna go down that road, but it didn't. And I was like, okay, cool. So probably that it's like his professional arc has reached the point he wanted it to reach, but now he kind of values something else. And as part of that, he feels, like you said, it's good to kind of burn all bridges and like put an end to that story and just move on to the next phase in my life. I don't think
you
it
you
was,
guys
at least it
say
didn't.
that, but I mean, there is a point in that movie when Emilio gives him his house where he says that his ambition next is to become the FIFA president, right? Which is to take over that Joao's.
Yeah, but the ambition is sporting again. It's not money driven. is what I'm trying to say. It's like it's not, even when, like, for instance, when he's doing a good job for Emilio, they don't show, at least in the movie, they're not showing that he's going up to ask for money for himself or like for better, because he
Yeah.
does seem to be staying with the same girl in her apartment for that entire duration or whatever, right? So it feels like he's there to kind of get business done, and he's using the money he's getting for the betterment of the team and not for himself per se.
Yeah, but I don't know if he. So there was that one point where, again, like I said, when Emilio gives him that house, where he's like, he says you can be the president, or if you are done with that, you can be my VP or something like that, right? And then he says no, and I was like, that was the point where I was like, he's just going to be like, no, I think I'm done with this. I just want to go back to Susanna and like try and live that life. But the fact that he says that he wants to be the FIFA president, I don't know, whether he's done with that, the life of, scheming and hustling and doing all of that. And I feel like that continues to be there. But they don't really delve into that, right? Because again, that would have been a different arc. That would have been the fifth arc of him becoming the FIFA president, right? Like, imagine, I don't know who he'd have to talk to in order to throw Joao under the bus, but he would have easily done that as well.
Mexico 2026.
2026, yeah.
He's still around, kicking.
No, I mean the real guy who was the president of that, he's passed away. He was 92. So so it's definitely not him. And that was the same guy who also was, I think they based the character on him because he was the president of the federation at that point in time. He was also the guy who was basically singled out as the sort of culprit behind the scandal, which, I mean, it's one thing to kick you out of the Olympics, but it's the second to ban you from the next World Cup, man, which for Mexico was essentially blasphemous, nearly, And I love the ending where everybody who asks him if he is Martin Del Torre, they basically tell him to go fuck himself. And yeah, and the fact that he ends up in the same bar as before, he'd made it so much money, he'd been so popular, and now he ends up in the same bar as before. He ends up in the same house, or they end up in the same house as before. Yeah. It is, life comes at you quite fast.
Full circle.
Circle of life.
Yeah. One hell of a Chakravyuh.
Chakravyuh.
Because he kept doing this. It's like, round you do this. But he kept saying this. I was like, he's going to say it. He's going to at some point. Yeah, so I guess with that, we're probably done with our review of Mexico 86. It's as short as the movie. I mean, we've hit the points. We've hit the points. We've not really delved too much into it, but yeah, I mean, I still probably, I mean, in hindsight, maybe 3 out of 5, probably a little high, but I still gave it because I feel like the cast and for me at least, the story was intriguing because of how, I suppose at that point in time, how new things were and how crazy they had to go, right? And how many things had to go in their favor in order to host it, and how many events took place. Because in general, you just think that you pay the FIFA president and you make your, but you just like bid for the World Cup and you'd probably you'd get to host it. But the fact that Colombia was going through something, they backed out. Then the fact that you had the bidding war, and then you got your way through that. Then you had the earthquake, you got your way through that, and then I love the part where the coach asked for the national team players to go for training camp for 1 year. He's like, "What the hell am I going to do with the league?" Sure. But with all of that being said, that's our review. Do let us know what you thought of the movie, or if you haven't watched it, I think, yeah, just go check it out and let us know what you thought of the movie in the comment section down below. I'm trying to drum up as much business. They're not
I don't
doing
know
it
why
too
you
bad.
want people to go. I don't think you need to go watch the movie. You can just watch this review. We've given you the story pretty much in terms of what was there.
Yeah,
It's fine.
yeah.
But
No,
if you're a big
but
fan
go
of
watch it
Diego
for.
Luna, then
Yeah,
perhaps.
yeah. Because I do feel a lot of resemblance with his Andor character and the scheming, hacking ways.
I was actually seeing, I felt like I was seeing Cassian in there. In
Except for
terms of
except for
who
the
he
teeth,
was.
like he's always had this. Like I think he had this denture. He kept doing I was like,
Yeah,
that's not Diego Luna. Like that's not how he actually looks, right? And then I was like, no, Cassian never had that look. And that's why I was trying to look online whether the real guy actually resembled him, and that's why they had those dentures, and then they didn't. And I was like, so what have you, who have you modeled this after? But yeah, so do let us know your comments down in the section below, what you thought of the movie, and don't forget to hit the like button, share with friends and family. We are doing now regular content on a daily basis, a lot of fun games, so get it involved, get engaged, and we will catch you all on our next episode. Until then, see you.